And now for part 2 of Big Mac's Crazy Daisy Day, a truly enchanting fiction by one terrible writer. When we left Big Mac, he was in a very, very sorry state, and let's hope that things improve for him. Wake up! Wake up! Big Mac's eyes flickered open as another splash of water hit him in the face. He was sprawled across Caramel's couch. The stabbing pain in his crotch had dulled to a mere thud, but looking down he still saw his cock was fully erect, even more painfully swollen than before, that daisy still poking mockingly from the tip. Caramel stood over Big Mac, his hair rumpled as he looked down in concern. "Oh, thank Celestia, you're awake. I was so worried," he breathed, patting Big Mac's shoulder gently. "I've called a friend. He's a doctor. He might be able to help." "No, I don't want to go to the hospital." Big Mac tried to struggle upwards, but the stabbing pain returned and he collapsed back onto the sofa. "I can't have any pony knowing about this. Don't worry. I don't work at the hospital." A chestnut-brown pony looked into Big Mac's vision, a sparkle in his eyes as he looked over Big Mac's body. "Dr. Whooves is the name. Pleasure to meet you. My, what's a pickle?" He prodded a hoof down at Big Mac's cock, which jerked again, causing a whimper to escape Big Mac's lips. "Right, Big Mac, I've got an idea. I fondle your balls and lick your cock, and when you come—" No, we've already tried that." Caramel gave a frown. "It just made it worse." "Oh, damn!" Whooves's face fell. "I've got no idea then. Perhaps I'll just stroke his balls a bit." He reached out a hoof towards Mac's scrotum when a red hoof slapped him away. "Wait a minute." Big Mac looked at Whooves with a stern glare. "If you're a doctor, why don't you work at the hospital? I don't think you're a real doctor at all." "Well, that depends on your definition of doctor." Dr. Whooves rolled his eyes in exaggerated fashion at the ridiculous question he'd just been asked. "If you define a doctor as a pony who has spent their life studying medicine and is fully quantified in treating all manner of injuries and illnesses, then no, I am not a doctor." Big Mac started to speak, but Whooves shushed him. "However, if you define a pony who says he's a doctor in order to fondle some pony's balls, then yes, I am a doctor." Big Mac tried to formulate a response, but the logic was, to his mind, impeccable. "Just get it out of these." "Fine." Dr. Whooves cracked his forehoofs together as he looked between Caramel and Big Mac, leaning in closer to stare at the daisy. "What if I gave it a sharp tug?" "No!" Big Mac and Caramel shouted in unison. Whooves shrugged. "Fine," he murmured, placing one hoof on the engorged cock shaft, the other poking at the daisy's head, resulting in another round of whimpers from Big Mac. "I see, you can't pull it out because of the fine hairs on it, but you can push it in. Hang on, I've got an idea." With a deft flick of the spare hoof, he snapped off the head of the daisy, leaving just the stalk barely poking out the end. He then started to push the stalk further into the shaft until it vanished from view. Whooves stared at Big Mac's cock. "Well, I'm out of ideas now," he chirped. "At least it looks better. Another job well done by Dr. Whooves." But that's worse!" Big Mac could barely whimper, squirming at the discomfort of the stalk now firmly embedded in his shaft. "How am I supposed to get it out if I can't even touch it? That daisy head was the only thing keeping it from slipping further into me. Now I can't even pull it out if I wanted to." "Oh, yes, that." Whooves pursed his lips. "Have you thought about seeing a doctor?" Before Big Mac had slapped Whooves, Caramel raised a hoof. "I think there be one pony who can help. Big Mac, the cleverest pony of all. I'm sure she won't mind helping." Twilight Sparkle looked between Caramel and Dr. Whooves and the large red stallion they had carried into the library. "So let me get this straight," she began in annoyance. "It's the middle of the night, and you two came crashing into my house carrying a Big Mac who has an enormous erection, and I shouldn't call the police because—" No, Dr. Whooves' eyes widened in panic. "It's not like that, Twilight. Big Mac needs your help, that's all." Big Mac groaned slightly, slumped in the forehoofs of his two companions. Twilight's eyes were once more drawn to Big Mac's massive cock. "I see," she muttered. Now I have a panic button here somewhere." She started to edge away towards the work table. "It's a daisy!" Caramel crawled out. "He's got a daisy stuck down his cock, and we can't get it out because if you pull it, then the little hairs in it will shred his cock to bits and cause a bloody mess. But now the head of the flower is broken off, and the stems vanished down the hole, and he doesn't want to go to hospital because Applejack will find out and never live it down." Twilight's expression turned from one of horror to curiosity as she trotted over Big Mac, staring at his member with an analytical eye. "Wow," she gasped. "But how did you get a daisy down?" "I fell on it," Big Mac snapped suddenly, his head lifting up to glare at Twilight. "Now before whole of Ponyville knows, is there any way of getting it out? Please, Twilight, you're my last hope." Twilight blushed at the attention. Yes, I am pretty clever, she called back as she trotted over to a table, covered in books and scientific equipment. Really, Big Mac, you should have come to me first. I'm sure you can repay me. She gave a wink and shuffled through a few scrolls. Here's what I'll do. I'll stimulate a member, causing you to come. Harem will cut her off with a shake of her head. We've tried the wanking thing, he sighed. It just made it worse. Twilight gave a huff as she turned back to scan through her books. I guess I could try to cut a hole at the base, and she looked up at the horrified faces of the three stallions before her and quickly flipped through her book's pages. Heh. Okay, not that then. Oh, I know. Her horn began to glow, a magical purple aura surrounding a glass stirring rod that had been laying in a bowl, which lifted into the air before her. Now, Big Mac, this is what I'll do. She looked at Big Mac, then his two friends, drawing the rod closer to his swollen cock. I'm going to use this rod to gently stretch your urethra and hopefully make enough room for the stem to come in without cutting it into you. This will hurt, but not for long. Got it? Big Mac nodded slowly, a pained expression on his face. But it's glass, he whispered. What if it breaks? Nothing else will be smooth enough, Twilight replied, casting a small aura of magic to hold Big Mac's cock in place, she thought. And it won't break, not unless you suddenly move, so keep still. We'll get this out, and Applejack will never know, and you can go home with your head held high, and your other head not held high. Caramel and Doctor Whooves instantly looked away as Twilight carefully pushed the end of the rod into Big Mac's cock. Big Mac started to whimper, squeezing his eyes shut and clenching his teeth as the cool rod started to slide deeper. There we go. There we go, Twilight muttered soothingly as the rod pushed its way down Big Mac's shaft until it was fully buried inside. Now I'm going to have to start to wiggle it around and make room. This will take all my concentration, so be quiet. Twilight felt beads of sweat prick on her forehead as the horn glowed with light, keeping the rod in careful control. Howdy, y'all! You'll see my brother? Applejack flung open the door and bounded into Twilight's house. Twilight let out a squeak, and Big Mac suddenly twisted in panic at the sight of his sister. The glass rod shattered. Big Mac lay on the bed with a happy sigh. It had been 3 months since the incident. It would cost him a humiliating hospital trip, an agonizing recovery, and never being able to look at his sister in the eye again. Still, the doctors assured him that his little Mac was back to full health now, and he had learned his lesson. He would never go near that crazy Daisy again. You have a lovely cock, Big Mac. Big Mac smiled as Two Hooves gently stroked his raging member. His little Mac was well overdue for a test run to celebrate being back in working order, and as his luck would have it, he had found a sexy and willing mare, one who wasn't Daisy, one who was sure to give him the sexual experience he deserved. Tell me, Big Mac, Rose smirked as she straddled Big Mac's stomach, pulling a rose from her mane, have you ever heard of sounding? Oh, God! Okay, this fic was great. Very, very funny. Always liked his work. I applaud you. I applaud you very much. One terrible writer. You are anything but terrible. Okay, well that does it for today's dramatic reading.